Time now for an in-depth look at the market news on this Monday, and for that I'm joined on the line by Dr. Jun-sok, professor of economics at the Catholic University of Korea. Professor Yang, thank you for making time today.
Happy to be here.
Well, stocks in New York lower again on Friday by quite a lot. Tech shares have led 3 weeks of declines now. Korean stocks starting higher today but ending in the red. What's the story in the global markets?
Okay, well, as you mentioned, the Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ in the United States all had bad weeks. Some people expected that once the Fed announced the projection on future economy and gave forward guidance, the market will recover, but it has not. And analysts some analysts are saying that this is because the projections, the Fed indicated that the United States will not see a full recovery even in 2023, so this slowdown will be longer than expected. But more analysts are saying that stock investors really want to see more than what the Fed announced last week, namely more, the Fed announced that they would continue low zero-rate interest rate until about 2023 or maybe even longer, but they did not announce anything else. The market apparently wanted the more liquidity in the market. They wanted more proactive Fed policies, but the Fed did not announce such policies, so the market was disappointed. If the latter explanation is true, though, and the market wanted to have more liquidity in order to have the stock market continue, then one interpretation of that is that the market will be driven only by liquidity and not the firm's performance themselves. So it will be worsening the disparity we see between the real economy and the stock market, in which case this drop in the stock market may actually be good because it might be putting a needle in the bubble that might be forming in the stock market right now. The other markets, the European markets, basically followed the U.S. lead, so they had a very bad week. Hang Seng in Hong Kong also had a similar pattern of being down since last Wednesday, and it's down today as well. Shanghai rose rapidly on Friday, but it lost some of their gains today. And Nikkei, again, followed the global trend and had a bad week. And this is the same for Kospi and Kosdaq as well. They both had a very bad week since last Tuesday. And for today, Kospi lost 0.95%, Kosdaq lost 2.46%. Individual spot and foreigners sold in the Korean markets today.
Well, big news today. We see that exports so far this month were higher than they were a year ago. The first time that's happened in quite a while. What do you make of these figures, Professor?
Okay, I wouldn't take these particular sets of numbers very seriously. The Korean exports did go up 3.6%, but we have to remember last year during the same period of time, that is between September 1st and September 20th, we had Chuseok holidays. So we actually had 2 less days of 2 less working and 2 exporting days this year than last year. So if you look at the last year's figures compared to 2018, it actually went down by 21.9%, and it only recovered 3.6% this year. So that means that if we compare this year's figures to 2018 figures, it's actually about 19% lower. So because the Chuseok is involved, I wouldn't take these numbers too seriously. Now, for exports, we did very well in semiconductors. It went up by 25.3%, and automobiles rose by 38.8%. This is, I think, good news because such high rise here means that it goes beyond the Chuseok effect, and at least for the automobiles, the Korean exports may be making a comeback. For semiconductors, the rise may be because Huawei is stocking up on semiconductors since they will not be able to purchase any more semiconductors starting this week. So we'll have to see how the semiconductor exports will be affected next week.
All right, it's the start of a new week, Professor. What's on your radar in the days ahead?
Okay, well, the big domestic news is going to be the National Assembly discussion and vote on the fourth supplementary budget. We already know the amount. It's 7.8 trillion won. That's about 0.4% of GDP. But the big contention is going to be over the 20,000 won subsidy on wireless communications charges for every Korean citizen who has a wireless communications account, so a smartphone phone account. But most minority parties, including parties which are usually friendly to the ruling party, is against this particular subsidy to everybody, and a lot of minority parties want to divert the fund into subsidizing flu shots instead, which personally I think makes more sense to me, but the ruling party is saying that there's a lot of difficulty in using that money for the flu shots, and we'll have a lot of fighting over that in the National Assembly this week.
All right, we'll be watching to see how that turns out and speak later in the week. Thank you, Professor Young.
Thank you.